But what's dominated the news cycle hasn't been Gaza, but the ever more authoritarian actions of Trump, with the cancellation of the Jimmy Kimmel show following comments the comic made around the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, America's media regulatory body, the Federal Communications Commission, or FCC, well, it's headed by a Trump appointee called Brendan Carr. And he wasn't behind the door. As soon as the Kimmel show went out, he dictated to ABC that if they didn't move to oust Kimmel, then he would act.
Trying to reinvigorate the public interest in some changes that we've seen. But frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or, there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead.
Within hours, ABC and his parent company Disney folded, and the Kimmel show was cut. Now, for those who haven't seen the actual clip of what Kimmel said, it's important to show it. And for people to focus on the fact that at no time did he mock or minimize in any way the death of Charlie Kirk. His focus was on the reaction of Trump to the death of Kirk, something I highlighted myself last week.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
The double standards of the FCC were laid bare when no action was taken against Fox News host Brian Kilmeade, who during a conversation about mentally ill homeless people suggested that they maybe should be killed with involuntary lethal injections.
They have given billions of dollars to mental health and the homeless population. A lot of them don't want to take the programs. A lot of them don't want to get the help that is necessary. You can't give them a choice. Either you take the resources that we're going to give you, or you decide that you're going to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill them.
Yeah, Brian, why?
Trump, who was travelling back on Air Force One from his jolly in England, well, when the news of the Kimmel cancellation came through, he doubled down when asked about it. He basically said that he would go even further to silence his critics in what he called the liberal media.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. President, who would you like to see? Mr. President, are you going to ask Brendan Carr to weigh in on other late-night hosts that you have said should be off the air?
Late-night host is on network television. There is a licensing. I'll give you an example. I read someplace that the networks were 97% against me. I got 97% negative, and yet I won easily. I won all 7 swing states, popular, but won everything. And if they're 97% against, they give me only bad publicity or press. I mean, they're getting a license. I would think maybe their license should be taken away. It will be up to Brendan Carr. I think Brendan Carr is outstanding. He's a patriot. He loves our country, and he's a tough guy. So
now, you will all understand if I admit that my sympathies lie with the comics in this case. From the days of ancient Greece, comedy has been the one arena in which the powerful can be held to account. Indeed, I'd argue that comics are the canaries in the mine when it comes to the health of a democracy. Now, if you doubt this, ask yourself this question. Have you heard of any satirical comedians coming from either China, North Korea, Russia? No? Why not? Because they're all in jail or dead. That's why not. As an example of the brilliance of comics and highlighting dangers, here's a wee clip of the superb George Carlin addressing the very issue of the FCC. This is from a few decades ago, remember.
The FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, decided all by itself that radio and television were the only two parts of American life not protected by the free speech provisions of the First Amendment to the Constitution. I'd like to repeat that because it sounds vaguely important. The FCC, an appointed body, not elected, answerable only to the president, decided on its own that radio and television were the only two parts of American life not protected by the First Amendment to the Constitution. And why did they decide that? Because they got a letter from a minister in Mississippi. A Reverend Donald Wildman in Mississippi heard something on the radio that he didn't like. Well, Reverend, did anyone ever tell you there are two knobs on the radio? Of course, I'm sure the Reverend isn't that comfortable with anything that has two knobs on it. But hey, Reverend, there are two knobs on the radio. One of them turns the radio off, and the other one changes the station. Imagine that, Reverend. You can actually change the station. It's called freedom of choice, and it's one of the principles this country was founded upon. Look it up in the library, Reverend, if you have any of them left when you finish burning all the books.
Now, whether he knows it or not, and I don't think he does, by stymieing criticism, his actions have unleashed the hounds of hell in the shape of American comedians, who will now come after Trump like never before. This was the reaction to the news of the Kimmel cancellation by those few late show hosts who are still in a job.
We have another fun, hilarious, administration compliant show. What are you doing? Shut up. Blow this for us.
Yeah, a lot of people are worried that we won't keep saying what we want to say or that we'll be censored. But I'm going to cover the president's trip to the UK just like I normally would. Well, guys, President Trump just wrapped up his 3-day trip to the UK, and he
looked incredibly handsome.
I just want to say before we get started here that I've always admired and respected Mr. Trump. I've always believed he was, a visionary, innovator, a great president, an even better golfer.
And it's not just comedians or late show hosts. Newspapers are now lining up to take on Trump after he lost a multi-billion-dollar case he'd taken against the New York Times, with the judge calling that case superfluous. This decision was quickly followed by this front page from the New Yorker magazine.
Just a few hours ago, this new cover of the New Yorker came out. It's a tiny hand in a big suit, holding a TV remote. Anything
Some guy who watches TV, I guess.
Yes.
I think.
What would you like people to take from this?
So the artist is Barry Blitt, who is a kind of a cartoonist genius, really. Kind of like Thomas Nast for our generation. And it captures in one image Trump's peculiar obsession with the media, particularly television, I'd have to say. And, the buttons say mute, pause, stop, stifle, silence, shun, sack, banish, and so on. And it's funny, haha, but it's also very real. This is what's going on.